Hello and welcome back to Mr. Caro Plays FM24. Today we're going to look at what if you do not have any money to spend on scouting, or you want to kind of look at a player before you purchase them. Now, there are a couple of methods that we will look at today. The first of which is if a player is entering the latter part of his contract, maybe the last 3 months or so, you can ask that player to go on trial, and sometimes they'll say yes. I must admit, this is probably the only part of this tip that doesn't have as much success. Often the players will say no, or the club will say no to that, especially if they're still playing games. But it is something that could work, so it's worth mentioning. So you, in this particular scenario, would click on a player. We would go offer that trial for 1 week or whatever that may be. The club will come in back and say yes or no regarding, depending on the situation with that player. If it's a player that they want to keep, often you'll find that they will say no. If it's a player doesn't have much value to them, then often they'll say yes. That's kind of basically the general approach with that. It isn't the most successful, but it can work and it can be a way to look at players. The other and the next route we're going to look at is if we go back to our scouting and we go back to our players again. And this time we're going to look at players that are not currently at a club. So if we go to change this expiring and change this to unattached. I often have a filter in there for international, but that's just I do that to try and get the highest quality players I can. Obviously, with that notion, just because they haven't played for the national team doesn't mean they're not a good player. But it does, however, sometimes limit out some of those players, so it's worth a filter perhaps. If we go in here, you'll see that there are some players, and then maybe we want to put interest in to kind of narrow that down. You'll see that there are some players in there, and maybe we want to get one of those players on trial. Maybe we can't scout. So you can see there's some good players in here. I'm just going to pick out one at random. I don't know if he's any good or not. We could scout him, but it would cost us some money to scout that player. He is a free agent. So in this particular case, we're going to offer the trial, and then we're going to get him in. We're going to skip ahead. It may take a second to do this, and we'll see if he then wants to come or not. In this case, he wants to go on trial. So you can see that was rejected to the other. So like I say, this particular offering a trial to a player that's already at a club is not the most successful. It does work. I'll tell you because it can work. However, like I say, typically it doesn't work the greatest if I'm honest. Whereas trial for players who are already free agents tend to have a lot more success. If it doesn't have the success if a player says no, then often that's a player who's not realistically going to come to your club if you could offer him a deal. However, he's already kind of dubious about signing, so maybe it's not a greatest move. But in terms of the player we got on Scout, you can see that he is not good at all, right? Now, obviously, you can probably look deeper into his stats and realize that, but in this particular case, we didn't want to pay for the Scout. So we went for the option. Okay, he's still going to be a star player for our league, but obviously our league is not necessarily the best for playing in Finland in this particular save. Now, the next tip I wanted to show you is a very quick one. We're going to offer him a deal just for argument's sake, or attempt to at least. You can see that we go through the process of talking to his agent, see what sort of money he wants. Not someone I would particularly pay that money for. And then we're going to offer him a deal as with you would have done many times in the past, emergency backup. Doesn't really matter what we're offering him, but we're going to intentionally offer him less, because the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to show you what you can do. You can kind of test the barrier when signing players, especially when they're on trial. And this is because if he rejects this deal, which I'm sure he will, and we terminate the loan, I'm trying to make it so he basically does reject it. He has rejected it, okay? Now, if we were to terminate that loan, first of all, we need to try and offer him another deal to prove it. So if we go offer him a deal again, you can see that he doesn't want one. He's just rejected that. If you skipped a couple of days throughout the trial, chances are you're going to have the same impact. He's going to say he doesn't want to go into a contract negotiation again. However, the tip here is if we terminate this, terminate the trial, skip through, and again, this is not 100% success. However, it is a high percentage, 95%. Again, this is my opinion, not a fact. But in the tip that I'm going to show you is now he's ended his trial, we can now go back and 9 times out of 10, we can now offer another contract negotiation. So the idea being, you maybe want to lowball a player, see what you can get out of him in terms of change. You'll kind of get an impression of what wages he'll accept. And then you can terminate that trial and then go again. And in this case, quite often, you'll now know the threshold that you need to do to make that deal happen. And then you can get that kind of contract signed and sealed. Like all my videos, please give it a like and subscribe. Hit the notification for more videos. Thank you and goodbye.